I welcome the opportunity to speak on this piece of legislation, the Road Traffic Bill 2016, and welcome most of its provisions anyway. And the purpose, of course, of the legislation is to improve safety on our roads and to reduce fatalities and injuries to road users. To do that by introducing a number of measures, 3 basic measures in particular. First of all, the detection of drug driving via mandatory testing and the creation of new offences for driving or being in charge of a vehicle under the influence of specified drugs. Lowering of the speed limit in the states to 20 kilometres per hour, and I come back to that one. Then the agreement between Ireland and the United Kingdom in relation to the mutual recognition of driving disqualifications, obviously a very welcome one as well. But before I continue further, I wanted first of all to thank and indeed congratulate the road safety organisation called PARC, promoting awareness, responsibility and care on our roads. And that's an organisation that was established as far back as 2006 by Susan Gray, who lost her husband in a road traffic accident in Inishowen and Donegal. And the group is made up of people who have been affected by these road traffic accidents. It has been campaigning since 2006 on various road safety issues. It supports in particular families of road traffic victims. And it has been involved in a series of campaigns, very successful campaigns in this whole area, including the mandatory testing of drivers involved in fatal and serious collisions, and a change to that, and that was introduced in June of 2011. Also, they were involved in the campaign of testing of unconscious and incapacitated drivers in fatal and serious collisions, and the law was changed in that regard in November of 2014. They've also published a booklet, Finding Your Way, which is a booklet for families affected by road traffic accidents, and it's widely available to all stakeholders, including the Gardaí, and it's updated on a regular basis. So I just want to acknowledge the work done by that organisation, and particularly by Susan Gray, who founded the organisation, and indeed by people who are working with her right across the country, and in my own constituency, Mr Alec Lee from Clonmel, who is also involved, and indeed to mention the very good work that Deputy Tommy Bruin has been doing in conjunction with PARC over the years. Minister, I think that in relation to the housing estate issue, you really should have bit the bullet on this one and made the 20 km/h mandatory. As you know, young Jake Brennan died at 6 years of age in a road traffic accident in a housing estate, and his family have been campaigning for some time to introduce a mandatory 20 km/h speed limits. And I think really this is an opportunity lost to do that, because we know that the position up to now is that local authorities have the option of introducing 30 km/h. Now, I agree you've obviously reduced that to 20 km/h in this legislation, but the record of local authorities in relation to 30 km/h is woeful. In fact, very little, if any, changes in that regard have come through local authorities over the years, and in fact they've had this available to them since 2014, and the guidelines were upgraded and introduced again in 2015. But it's all on the basis of being an option, encouraging local authorities to do it, recommending that it be done. But really, it hasn't happened even for the 30 km/h, and I would be certain that there will be no hunger to do that at local authority official level in particular. And I think there's still time, Minister, to change that provision in the bill and to make the 20 km/h mandatory. And of course, in line with what both Deputy Murphy and Deputy Ryan have said, the redesign of estates and of the whole traffic within estates, together with that mandatory 20 km/h, would be absolutely hugely advantageous for residents and for their families, and particularly for cyclists and pedestrians. So I'd hope that, in the course of the progress of this legislation through the Oireachtas, that you might take the view that this provision should be made mandatory. Another issue in relation to road safety, and not, of course, mentioned in this bill at all, but I think it's one that we should mention, and I mention it particularly in relation to my own constituency of Tipperary, and that's the whole question of the repair and maintenance and the standards of roads in the country. The woeful standard, the lack of repair, the potholed roads almost undermined, in many cases very difficult to travel, giving rise to serious difficulties in relation to vehicles themselves, giving rise to road traffic accidents as a result of the condition of the roads. That is something that needs to be addressed, and needs to be addressed urgently. And it's a question of funding and resourcing local authorities to maintain and upgrade the roads. And as you know, Minister, you have been in Tipperary with Tipperary County Council, Clonmel, on the 28th of July. And it's quite clear from the situation in Tipperary that even though during the last government we had two ministers, a Minister of State and a Minister, that the county fell behind significantly in relation to roads funding. And the ratings in relation to the various road categories in Tipperary compare very unfavourably with the national mean. For instance, the local primary roads are 5% less than the mean, local secondary roads are 11% less than the mean, local tertiary roads are a full 17% less than the national mean. And of course, the reason for that is that the road grants profile for Tipperary from 2007 to 2015 has been one of reduction after reduction after reduction. In 2007, the regional and local grants came to €608 million. In 2015, that figure is down to €294 million, more than halved over that period of time. And the various other grants show similar reductions. And if we take, just for instance, regional and local road grants, restoration and improvement, down from €13.6 million in 2007 to €8.6 million in 2016. Regional and local roads restoration and maintenance down from €4.7 million in 2007 to €2.4 million in 2016. And in fairness to Tipperary County Council, they've increased the resources coming from the county to provide for roads by almost €1 million over that period of time. So there's huge need for additional funding for roads in County Tipperary, Minister. I know you've been made aware of the situation, and I certainly would hope that over the coming budgetary period that you'll be in a position to significantly increase the road grants for the county to ensure that the standard and maintenance and upkeep of roads in the county is at a reasonable level. I would also just want to mention the question, Minister, of the N24 National Primary Road running through Tipperary. As I said to you on the day in Clonmel, it is a significant economic and social corridor for that whole area. But it is also a very dangerous road, and there are significant road traffic collisions on that road. Many of them sadly have been fatal, and there's been promises and commitments of bypasses both for the town of Tipperary, where traffic comes right through the centre of the town, and also yes, Count Corla, and also Carrick-on-Shore, and I'd ask you to address that situation as well. Gormagot, Count Corla.
Thank you. I now call on